What's up, fellow G's? This is Edgar Zuniga coming at you from NAG Studio East. It's Thursday, and we are gearing up for an early Saturday matchup between Austin FC and your Los Angeles Galaxy. To help us prepare for this match, we are honored to have special guest Hernan Gonzalez from We Are Austin TV's Top Flight podcast. Welcome to the show, Hernan.
Hey man, what's up? Thank you for having me. Appreciate the invite. I think this collab it was a long time coming. We tried to do it before, couldn't do it, but hey, back again. This time we actually got it, and I'm looking forward to this chat between two top teams of the West.
Thank you so much for joining us. I was going to say, we tried this in the past, and we were left wanting to have you guys on, and now we get that opportunity. So thank you so much. Like I said, it's an honor to have you on here.
Yeah, man, thank you.
So let's dive right in, because the first topic when it becomes between LA Galaxy and Austin FC has to be Diego Fagundes, who, if I remember correctly, wherever he has gone, has always been an important part of the club on and off the field. And it didn't take long for him to immediately make a connection with fans over here. Fans love him. His production has been fantastic. He's fit into the team almost seamlessly. And now you ask anybody, and people will say he's one of us. And thank you so much, Austin FC. People have asked me, hey, how the hell did we get him? And I told them, from what I remember, because I was on that Twitter space that one night when everything went down, issues between him and Josh Wolf. Josh Wolf kind of pushed him out the door at the first opportunity he had, and LA Galaxy was gifted this amazing player. But why hear it from me when we can hear it directly from you? Can you explain to us in full detail what the heck happened and how Diego ended up in LA?
Man, that's honestly, I mean, I hate to maybe give it this kind of word, but the at the moment that all that was going down, when it all happened, it was just a messy situation. And there was a huge side of the fan base that was coming after Coach Josh Wolf, because there were some stuff that were it was kind of, said it was a lot of he said, she said, a lot of telephone game going on. And there was a lot of things going around, a lot of narratives being thrown around. There was the whole thought process of, hey, Josh Wolf pushed Diego out of this club, and Rodo Borrell just gave it the final okay, because at that time Rodo Borrell was already here and he was already making moves with Austin FC. However, there was another part of the fan base that also understood the fact that Diego Fagundes at the time was one of our assets to the club, was somebody that it was actually attractive to some other club, because we got the information later on from Rodolfo Borrell that a lot of the players in this club that weren't being pursued by any team. So how are you going to improve the roster if you can't get rid of some of the pieces to at least acquire some kind of gam, some kind of money to make other certain moves? And that's what we've seen Austin FC do this offseason. They've gone for those cheap moves. A lot of the players that contracts are expiring, because Rodo Borrell has hinted at the fact that there is no wiggle room in this cap space. There is no room to make these money moves. So that's why Diego Fagundes allegedly was moved to the Galaxy, because the Galaxy offered a pretty good package. They offered up to, I believe it was $900,000 in GAM. They also gave us Memo Rodriguez, who wasn't signed to Austin FC. He was let go now with Sporting Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. So there was some positives to the move, but emotionally, I guess maybe also on a morale base, it was a huge, huge hit that I think the fan base still hasn't gotten over, to the fact that when Diego Fagundes comes to Q2 Stadium on Saturday, there is a lot of questions if people are going to applaud him or if they're going to boo him, because he's a Galaxy player now. But everybody knows that Diego is going to be received well in Austin. I would say he's an Austin legend.
Can you tell us about what happened that night? Because I remember I was really curious. Obviously, this involved LA Galaxy, so I jumped into the Twitter space. I was given the opportunity to talk as well, but I remember hearing people saying, "Let's get together at this one location, and so we could all meet up and just commiserate."
Yeah.
And Diego ended up showing up, right? How
Yeah,
did
that's
that go
true.
down?
So that ended up occurring at Hop Squad Brewery, which is a really popular beer spot that fans meet up before games. Galaxy fans, I'm sure they might have heard about that name if they traveled to Austin in previous years. But anyways, that event was pretty much organized by, I believe it was Richie from Otra Por Favor, and some other members of the fan base. You know, it's hard to kind of give credit to everybody because there was multiple people involved, if I'm not mistaken. But Hopscotch Brewery said, "Hey, have it here or whatnot." They green lighted it, right? But pretty much Diego Fagundes showed up. There was about, I think, maybe 50 to 100 fans, somewhere in that range, that were there. And there was real tears, man. There was real tears that were shed that day because Diego Fagundes, he was more than just a player for this club. And I know you can maybe think, how can you feel like that towards a player when the club itself is only 4 years old? But the thing about Fagundes is he integrated himself with the city, with the fan base, to the extent that kids for Halloween, they were dressing up as Diego Fagundes. They would get Sharpies and they would draw tattoos on themselves, dye
Wow.
their hair blonde or dye their hair whatever color. Diego is known for the different dyes in his hair. And they would just say, "Hey, mom, look, I'm Diego." So that's how much he meant to this city, to this club. And he was also a really good player. Drusi gave us a really fantastic season in 2022, but his right hand man, the person that was supplying him with at least 15 assists that year, was Fagundes. So he was instrumental in one of our most successful, if not the most successful season in this club's young history. And it's hard to forget a guy that integrated so well into the city and integrated so well into the team. But that night was probably very emotional in Austin FC's club history. But and it was such a big event that I believe that event triggered Rodolfo Borrell's press conference literally like the next day or the next 2 days, because he came out and he did a private press conference with media members there or whatnot, and it was later uploaded to the club's website. But pretty much in that press conference, Rodolfo Borrell, the ex Manchester City guy, he came out and he said, "Hey, why are we making such a big deal out of this? This is just a regular transfer. This happens all over the world. What's going on?" But some people criticized Rolo Borrell, I'm sorry, at that moment, and said, "Hey, this guy doesn't know what this club is built on. He doesn't know our values. He doesn't even know how much Diego meant to us." But you also have to understand Borrell's point of view when this situation was placed on his desk. He's looking at it black and white. He sees a guy that can be moved on for a lot of money, a lot of gam, which in this league matters a lot. And he doesn't see the fact that, hey, he means so much to the club. He was brought in to improve this roster, improve this team, and Diego was one of the few pieces that was actually valuable enough to sell to a team like the LA Galaxy, who is no slouch. If the Galaxy comes calling in MLS, it's hard to say no. And if you get traded to them, because this league does those moves weird, if you get traded to them, I mean, this got to put a smile on your face. You're going to play for one of the most historic teams in this league. Believe has the most championships. All the players that have gone through the Galaxy, to be part of that team's history. Any player that goes to this league would not be upset about that.
Yeah, Diego has quickly integrated himself into the club culture. Like I was saying earlier, you talk to any fans and they immediately love him.
Mm.
They appreciate what he does for the club, both on and off the field. So it just continues. He continues to grow that legacy that he's done since he was playing for New England Revolution. Um, and this season, people talk about the vaunted Galaxy offense, right? We're very lucky. We got some good pickups in the offseason. We got
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Pato and
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel Beck. And Peck didn't start right away, though. A lot of people, I don't know if you follow the team that closely, but he didn't start right away. They slowly eased him into the starting lineup. But for the longest time, him and Fagundes were pretty much interchangeable. And Fagundes was even more productive than Peck at the beginning. And at this point right now, you could take out Peck and put in Fagundes, and you won't suffer in production because that's just the kind of player that he is. We're very fortunate to have somebody like Fagundes, where if for some reason Coach Fanny says, I'm taking you out, Peck. Here comes Fagundes, and there's no drop in production. There's like no drop off at all. How many teams can say, we could, put in a player of the caliber of Diego Fagundes in as a sub, right? Or you can start him if you want. So, thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much, Austin. I'm sorry.
Dude, and it's funny that you say that because for us, whenever we brought him off the pitch, do fitness or because he was tired, because that guy played so many games for us. I think for Austin, he was just shy of making 100 appearances. I think he was 3 games shy of making 100%, or playing 100 games for Austin FC. And the thing about him was that in his position while he was here, when he was brought off, it was a drop off production where he was playing. So Diego was a must start. He was a undisputed starter for Austin FC. And whenever he left, at that point after Diego Fagundes left Austin FC, I think maybe until recently, a couple games ago, the offense has struggled, tremendously without Diego. And to see him move on to the Galaxy, top of the West right now, their offense is absolutely flying high. Diego is part of that offense. You kind of look at the coaching staff and you say, hey, why did you let him go? Why? See, this is what we need in this team right now. But you go back to the decision of Rodos, making that money move, with no emotion, just completely taking the heart out of it and just using his brain and saying, hey, there's money on the table, Diego. Unfortunately, you got to go to LA, which is not a bad thing for Diego, like I said earlier.
Yeah. So let's get into what's going on in Austin, because I remember last season when Austin first came to LA. I approached an Austin fan before the game,
Mhm.
and so I interviewed him and I asked him several questions about the club. This was during the time when LA Galaxy was going through the club protest. I don't remember the Klein Alley
Yeah.
thing. So
Hmm.
I wanted to get some outsiders' perspectives on what was going on. And that's when he hinted at me, and this is before the whole Fagundes thing, right? Went down. He
Hmm.
hinted at me like, "Yeah, we have our own issues over here regarding, Wolf and the way the team has been run. So don't be surprised if you see Austin fans start to get louder and louder." So obviously something has been going on, right?
Hmm.
And maybe the whole thing with Fagundes might have been the spark that set everything going. But can you explain to us what is the situation right now in Austin? Um, but before we get into supporters, though, can you
Hmm.
explain why has the team been struggling?
Well, you can attribute it to the Fagundes exit. The losing a big part of your offense in the assist department and in the heart. Really, I mean that would hurt any team around any league in the whole world. You lose one of your main guys, you're going to struggle if you don't replace them right away. And if you have DP players that aren't producing like we have in Austin, Emmy got the goal against Houston that secured the 3 points last week away from home. But if you look beyond that, Rigoni has been producing very low numbers for Austin FC, DP numbers that are inexcusable in this league. You have to get those DP players right or else you're in big trouble. And Diego was not a DP player for Austin, and he was producing an insane amount of offense for Austin FC. And when he leaves, you see that drop off. And ever since that moment, you see just a slow, just decline of this club when you talk about the offense output by this team. You do get some additions to the roster. We can talk about Hader Obrian, the FC Dallas player. We got him in the re-entry draft. We had to make some moves. We got rid of Kip Keller, traded up somehow, ended in first for that re-entry draft and got Hader Obrian. A lot of people were kind of confused at the moment, but it was kind of a general consensus that, hey, this is the best case scenario in this draft, and we'll see what he can do. Everybody was saying, let Rolo cook. You also went after Diego Rubio, right? A guy that has been proven in MLS, ex Colorado Rapids player, and he's a goal scorer. And down here in Austin, you could tell that he really has the hunger to get the ball into the back of the net. And he's also, I believe he's on 2 goals already. He's definitely contributing to the offense in the best way that he can. He's not 23. He's not 21. He has his age. He is who he is now. But with the players that we have in offense, having a guy like Rubio definitely contributes and brings more to the attack. Going forward, Drusy needs people to help him in some games. He's a great player, but he can't consistently carry the team by himself every single week. So Drusy does need help. Rubio is one of those guys that helps, and Hader Obrian with his speed, his aggression on those wings. He's also another guy that Drusy looks at and he says, you know what? Finally, somebody is helping me out after the departure of Diego. And you say that, hey, was that Diego the departure, the event, one of the reasons that kind of started all of this? People will argue that it goes further back to when the club even started. There was fans of this team of Austin FC that were very critical of the hiring of Josh Wolf because this is his first job as a head coach. We know that he's probably an MLS legend. He's a U.S. men's national team ex-player. He was a assistant coach in this league as well. And with Austin FC, it was his first head coaching job. So people around the city were like, "Hey, what? The new team is getting a new coach? How does that work? Shouldn't they get a proven guy that's going to bring this team to a certain spot that they want him to?" Instead, folks were saying, "Hey, this guy's learning on the job. This guy is going to be learning while Austin FC grows." So there's been criticism boiling up since then, since he was signed for Austin FC. But if you really got to look further than that, you have to understand that the ownership, pre-court, the president Andy Loughnane, the assistant coach Josh Wolf from Columbus, they pretty much did a direct transplant to Austin. Now you have the same owner, Anthony Precourt, you have the same president, Andy Loughnane, and then you have the same coach, Josh Wolf. It's a good thing Berhalter isn't here, but it wouldn't surprise me if one day down the road, if it's still the same ownership, Greg Berhalter coach Austin FC. So when you ask me what's going on with Austin FC, bro, when you ask me what's going on, it's just a mixture of things.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard from people that Austin FC has it good, that fans that just complain too much and they don't know what they have, how good it is down here compared to other clubs. And I think just some people are just overcritical of Josh Wolf in the sense that they expect their team to win every week. And we've heard players say that it's just not realistic. And to me, in my personal opinion, I believe that there's just some bad contracts on this team. There's some players that haven't been moved on that need to be moved on, and little by little, Rodo Borrell, he's going to be replacing players, left and right, up and down, and eventually, he's asked for three windows. That's what he's asked for. So we'll see what this team looks like in 3 windows. I'll still be paying attention to this club, and hopefully, we got to the Western Conference Finals in 2022. We'll see where we get with the leadership of Rodo Borrell, a guy that's proven even in the toughest teams like Man City. Sorry for the rant.
No, it's perfectly fine. Thank you so much. We were also going to ask you, because another former Galaxy legend is still Austin right now, and that's José Sardis. What's the
Yes.
situation with José Sardis? Because it seems like he had his best years with LA, then he kind of went through some issues, and then he was reborn with Columbus, and then he ended up in Austin. And what's happened to our boy José?
See, he was reborn in Columbus, just like you said. I believe he won the 2019 Comeback Player of the Year that season with Columbus, and his assistant coach, who was it? It was Josh Wolf. So it just kind of made sense as to why Josh Wolf, went after him and gave him the kind of contract that he gave him. Folks were saying, "Hey, that's one of his guys. Hey, that's one of his player buddies. He must really like José Zardes because the contract, Zardes is in it." And honestly, I hate to talk about numbers. I hate to talk about contracts, but in a league like MLS, where the cap matters that much, you just have to pay attention to these numbers. And some of the contracts that currently Austin FC is dealing with are just not fair to the output that we are receiving from some of the players. And you asked me what happened to Zardes. Nothing happened to him. It's just father time, and it catches up to everybody. Zardes has had a great career in MLS. I said a couple of weeks ago, he might be a U.S. men's national team legend for the early days. I don't know. People might go back and forth on that, but he's had a great career, and it's just father time catching up. And whenever you're a soccer player, whenever you play football, it's something that you must know one day is going to happen to you. And Zardes, I believe, we're seeing some of his last years, maybe in Major League Soccer. We'll see what happens next. He's going to be a great pundit. Football Critic, he spoke to José Zardes in the player mix zone after the Houston Dynamo game, and he asked him a great question. He said, "Hey, how do you feel transitioning into a role where you're more of a hold-up player that kind of holds the ball for your teammates to kind of overlap you and then create chances for the main attacking guy, which is like Diego Rubio or Juicy?" And he also kind of asked this in the question. He said, you used to be that point in the attack, but now you're more kind of just holding up the ball, waiting for guys to make the runs over you to create a chance. And Zardes just very professionally, he said, "Hey, I'm just here to help the team, and anything I can do is what I'm going to try to do." And he did get the all-important goal-winning assist against San Jose. He really just was back to goal, laid it off to Juicy, and Juicy pulled off a just magical strike, put it past Yarbrough, and Austin got their first win over San Jose ever, 4-3. I know you might have that similar scoreline memory, 4-3 versus San Jose, right? But that's kind of the player that José Zardes has turned into with Austin, kind of a bit of a hold-up guy, laying it off to this guy, making the run by him. He doesn't have the legs to be running up and down anymore, but he does have a nice body to him still. He's still a unit, and he has a really good vertical. He'll definitely put a head on the ball. Sometimes it's not as accurate as you want to be, but Zardes still has a little bit to give to this team, and he's definitely given everything he has. He's a true professional player, and that's one thing that I've always admired about Zardes.
Yeah, definitely. He's just very humble too. That's one of the things that's
100%.
very endearing about him. I met him as a when he was a rookie. Like I met him in person when
Really?
he was a rookie with the LA
Wow.
Galaxy. The Dodgers were having like some kind of thing, like it was like Galaxy Day, and my buddy used to have season tickets behind the visitors dugout, yeah, which is kind of expensive, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, I didn't go. I was just really happy to be at the stadium, and they had Jazzy throughout the first pitch as a rookie, and people didn't know who he was. People were just, there was a scattered applause, and so I remember telling my buddy, "Hey, that's Jazzy Sardes," and he's like, "Who?" I'm like, "Never mind." So then I was like, okay, let me go get myself a Dodger dog. So I get in line and get a Dodger dog. And as I'm walking up to the line, I notice a very noticeable fade in front of me. And you know how he dyes his hair, right? And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah. The
is
little
that
blonde.
Jossie? And I walk up to him, I'm like, Jossie. He turns out like, hey, and I'm like, why are you online to get your Dodger dog, man? You should be sitting down having people serve you. He's like, nah, man, I'm just keeping it real. And I'm like, oh, what a
That's
cool guy, you
awesome.
know. And we took a
Yeah,
photo,
dude.
and he's always been that kind of guy. He's obviously a Southern California product. He grew up around the stadium, and people here love him, and they will follow him, throughout his career. Even now in Austin, a lot of people uh, genuinely care about him. So when he gets to the stadium, like he did last year, people are gonna give him a nice warm reception,
Dude,
just like I hope Fagundes gets one in Austin.
he Zardes was part of the, what was it, FIFA 18 player story mode, where the guy gets
Yes.
transferred to the Galaxy and you gotta, you meet Zardes and stuff and whatnot. That's super cool. But Zardes is a guy that has done so much for this league. He's somebody that you've definitely seen on TV. You've seen his highlight on like some kind of sports network. And just like I said, he was once a great player. He still is a great professional. I'm not gonna say he's been, fantastic for Austin FC, even though he has contributed a lot to this club recent history. But like I said earlier, with him it's just father time, and we're just thankful for every contribution he gives Austin FC. But if you talk to an Austin FC fan about Zardes, they will definitely bring up the fact that he's overpaid with Austin FC, 100%.
Okay. So shifting back a little bit to the whole thing with the supporters, what is the current climate of the supporter culture right now as far as how they feel about Wolf and the team? Have things gotten better, or are fans still pretty upset? Would you say?
So on the Top Flight podcast, the show that we do covering Austin FC, we kind of manifested a wolf out meter. And Rigo Pinguino, a fellow Austin FC fan, a fellow Discord member, Patreon member also, shout out to my G. He made a wolf out meter. He made like a graphic, and he with little arms or whatnot. And when he made it at the time, it was like it had 4 levels, and it was kind of like at the second to worst. It was like in the orange, not the fully red, but it was like in the orange. And ever since then, there's been 3 wins out of the last 4 games. So it definitely has cooled everything down for a bit, you would say. There was a whole wolf out movement banner that it has been getting stronger and stronger every time that the team has been doing poor. But like I said, recently has been 3 wins out of the last 4, and it's cooled things down. There are people that still say, "Hey, nothing can change my mind. It's Wolf out 100%." There was a video that we posted with the actual banner. Fans made a banner and they brought it to Q2 Stadium. It wasn't allowed in, but the fact that it's already made and just ready to be let in it should speak volumes of how a sector of the fan base feels. But other than that, when things are good, right, like right now, everybody's kind of united. The players have called for more positivity from the fans. They want everybody to kind of be one moving forward into this season. And if you really think about it, Austin FC is maybe outperforming their low expectations that were set upon them at the beginning of the season. They're wooden spoon contenders from the MLS pundits. So the fans kind of had that hardwired into their brain, like, yo, we're going to be bad this season. Look what the pundits are saying. But you also can't believe the pundits 100% of the time. And the fact that Austin FC currently finds himself, I believe, in 8th place, tied LAFC on points, not too far from first place LA Galaxy. You see them on Saturday, and you have a chance to control your destiny, beat them at home. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that the climate right now for Austin FC is mellow. But if you asked me that question 3 weeks ago, I would say that it was red hot, on fire.
It's so funny that you mentioned that little meter,
Mm-hmm.
because as I was asking about the climate, of the supporters towards Wolf, I actually was envisioning a wildfire meter, because we have, I don't know if you guys have them down in Austin, but here in LA, we have them near the forest where they tell you, there's wildfire meter is, high probability for a fire, so be careful. So that's what I was envisioning, and the fact that you guys actually have a wolf out meter, that's
Yeah,
pretty
dude,
fantastic.
it's interesting how the fan base moves.
So, shifting gears, let's talk about supporter culture in Austin. A lot of people, here in Galaxy Line, they love to learn about how other supporters do their thing. And can you tell us about the supporter culture in Austin, and what original traditions does Austin have?
Well, one of the things that the supporters just pride themselves at down here in Austin is the fact that they go all 90 minutes. They chat 90 minutes, and it's true. It's really the culture down here. If you're in the supporter section, it's kind of an expectation for you to be chanting, for 90 minutes to back this team. And there has been post-match press conferences where the players and the coaches both say, "Hey, when the fans chant for 90 minutes, when we hear them get loud in a dangerous corner kick or in a dangerous free kick in a favorable throw in, it really pumps us. It really pumps us up, gives us that extra fuel that to generate maybe some kind of late winner, maybe generate that game time goal at the very last minute." And that's something that Austin FC fans have also pointed out. They say, "Hey, the players say this, so we're going to do it. They want us to be there 90 minutes, so we're going to go for it." And it's also very known. It's something that's very talked about down here, that the fact that it's not like this all over this league. There's some teams in MLS that wish they had the support that Austin FC had at Q2 Stadium week in and week out. The longest sellout streak is still active for Austin FC. It's only a 22,000 seater stadium. There are clubs in this league that have, maybe a 40,000 or a 30,000, teams that play in 60,000 like Charlotte, ATL or whatnot, but those are football stadiums. This is a soccer specific stadium that was built down here in Austin for Austin FC, and it was kind of built quick. It was kind of built in a hurry. I had one of my buddies. He was part of the whole process, so we got to see Q2 start from just literally dirt to what it is today. And just some other traditions that Austin FC would have, it would marches on big games, and also fan reactions outside Q2 Stadium. That's also a bit of a tradition that we have. We rarely miss games. We're not perfect. There has been some where we had to cancel because maybe the weather was bad. It was raining on us, or weather delays or whatnot. But that's something that we do week in and week out when we're at home. We bring the fan opinion outside Q2 Stadium, and sometimes it's been very critical. Sometimes it's been very colorful with language. But there's also been times where fans have dropped very emotional, tactical takes. There's been fans that have said some really spot on things, and I think that a lot of people appreciate that, because it's a form of media that is kind of being captured now more than ever. The fan outside of the stadium, and a lot of people consume it in a positive way. Some people don't like it, but it is what it is.
I was also gonna ask, for visiting supporters, what is a good place for them to hang out before and after games for like food or drinks, or just to absorb some of the local culture?
I, some of the local food, the local culture. There's like this funny joke going around, these hot dogs outside of Q2 Stadium. They're like, I've seen them in LA. I've been to
Street dogs, baby.
the Rose Bowl, where they wrap them up in bacon and the
Hot dog,
street
hot
dogs,
dog, bacon wrap,
right?
bacon wrap. Yeah.
And down here, they're right outside of Q2 Stadium. They're $10. So people are like, dude, that's way too much for a hot dog. So they kind of just skip that, and they go to the taco trucks that are just like maybe like 50 feet from there. But It's also kind of a thing down here in Austin where fans eat before they go to Q2 Stadium because the prices are kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Other than that, they have Pluckers in there, which is a famous wing place. But I've heard from a lot of people that they like Pluckers in the actual restaurant instead of the one in the stadium. No knock on Pluckers. I'm sorry, yeah, but you guys don't even sponsor, so whatever. But other than that, there's pizza in the stadium that's pretty good. But I wouldn't say that it's a strength for our Austin FC. The stadium is around some cool stuff, but as far as food, I always make sure that I eat before that I go.
Okay. Pluckers, what a name.
Pluckers, yeah. Shout out
Yeah,
Pluckers.
I know exactly the street dogs you're talking about. We have 'em at every sporting event out here. I mean, you could smell them
Yeah,
while you're inside the arena as the games are ending. And every like once in a blue moon, I have one. But I always tell people every time you have one of those things, it knocks 5 minutes off your life. So just be aware of that.
that's interesting. I need to keep that in mind.
So let's talk about that big win over Houston. Obviously, this is like you call it the Texas Derby, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Texas Derby.
And a lot of people went in there saying like, "Oh, Houston, has had a good start to the season. Ache is back," and then here's Austin saying, no, 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 no." Tell us about that big win and what it means to Austin FC.
Yeah, I was there. I was there in Houston in H Town. Went to go watch Austin FC. The weather was bad getting there. It was raining really hard, but still made that trip, made that small journey. It's like 2-3 hours away from Austin, so it's not that bad, right? But the win, it meant a lot for the team. It meant a lot for the fans also because there was very few people that had Austin FC winning this game. I believe I was one of the very few, very, very few. I said on one of the podcasts that we had dropped, I predicted a 2-1 win for Austin FC, and people were looking at me like, "Are you crazy? Where are the goals going to come from? Houston is in third place. Why are you saying this? You're just selling smoke. You're optimistic. You're friendly media." And it's like, look, I just don't think this team is going to have two bad back-to-back games, and they know that fans are going to be traveling. They know fans are going to be out there supporting. It's not that far from Austin, so it's not really an away game. Is what I kept telling people. The main argument was Austin is poor away from home, but I said yes when they have to go to freaking Seattle, when they have to go to freaking just outside of state is what I'm trying to say. But when you got to travel to Houston from Austin, it's almost like if you're just right down the road from where you live. You don't travel in a plane, it's bus. So it definitely changes travel. We've heard John Gallagher, our right back, he said how MLS, because of the travel, it's very hard to dominate teams that are away from home. And you go to Houston, you feel like you're at home, and it's also a derby, right? Players told us after the game that it's not hard to get mentally psyched, mentally ready for these kind of games because it's a derby. It's like Galaxy players getting hyped up for the match versus LAFC versus match versus San Jose. It's a clásico. It's el tráfico. It brings the best out of some players, and there's a big notion in this team that when you play Dallas, when you play Houston, you got to go all out, and they did versus Houston. Now the H question, I don't know why people thought that he was going to slot in and immediately be the Achacha he was last season. It takes time. It takes time, especially when you're coming back from an injury that he went through. Drusi was not with his team to start the season. He didn't feature until Orlando, which I think was the fourth game of Austin FC season. And even then, he came in and got out quick, right? So he also struggled to get back to his rhythm, his superstar form that Drusi to be in. So when you talk about Achacha, we even asked Danny Pereira, a Austin FC midfielder. We asked him like, "Hey, did y'all have a game plan for Achacha? Like, what was y'all's mindset going into this game? Because you knew that he could possibly make his return versus Austin. That was a rumor going around." And he said, "Nah, we didn't really think about him that much. We just focused on ourselves. They focused on their game plan versus Houston, and they kind of just bunkered in. They defended extremely well. Brendan Hines played his butt off. Matt Hedges had a phenomenal game. And Brad Stuver, a guy that week in and week out is great for Austin FC. He might be an all-star this year. He should get an all-star shout for goalkeeper. Maybe it's a hot take. We'll see what happens. But he currently leads the league in saves. That's a bit of a coin because on one side it's good, but on the other side, what does that say about your defense? And in Houston, Brad Stuver did a phenomenal job. And in the 85th minute, 86th minute, Brad Stewart takes a very long goal kick. CJ Fodry, a very tall, young MLS Next Pro prodigy, rises up, gets a flick on it. Amy Rigoni, it falls in his path. He puts it behind Steve Clark, and Austin FC smash and grabs 3 points. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. It was that kind of game. Just defend, and you're gonna get one chance. You better take it, and they did.
Is this the kind of victory that you feel will propel this team to greater success as we hit the middle part of the season?
It has to. It has to. It can only do that because, like we talked about right now, it's a derby rival. It's a win that kind of matters for 6 points because the reason why I say that is 3 points for the win and 3 points for the fan boost. And you also knock Houston down from the spot they were in. They took a big toll down, and Austin, went up to eighth. I know it's early in the season, but just staying in that playoff picture matters a lot for your confidence as a team in the season because you kind of describe yourself as a playoff team as that season goes on. You don't want to be the team that's fighting at the bottom or the team, maybe you want to be the team that's fighting to get into playoffs, but I'm sure Austin FC would much rather be in the top four or at least in the top eight, controlling their own destiny for that playoff postseason picture at the end of the year.
Okay. I was gonna ask you. Okay, can you actually elaborate on the current status of the season? I mean, of the team. I know you've been mentioning
Mm-hmm.
some players and how they've been doing in the recent weeks and from the start of the season, like Driussi, for example. But can
Mm-hmm.
you elaborate on the current status of the team heading into this matchup against LA Galaxy? And since we mentioned Driussi, uh, some people want to know: is Driussi still the same player he was before, or has he changed?
I think he's had to adapt to the team that he has. Maybe when Diego Fagundes was here, he had better service. This year and the times without Diego Fagundes last year, maybe it has been a bit difficult to maybe adjust his game in the sense where he has to maybe he has to lead this team more. Maybe he has to create more for other players around him, right? Because players see him, and if he's playing, they get more confident. If they know he's not going to play, maybe their confidence takes a bit of a toll because they know that Drusy is not going to be on the field. He's that guy for Austin FC. And when you say if he's not the same player as he was, I think maybe 2022 would be a better way to reference Drusy in a high level because that's when he was fighting for the MVP versus Hani Mukhtar. I think it's just a sense of the players around him. Austin FC is probably doing their best to get the right talent around Drusy to better help him score goals to help this team, obviously, in the long run for the quest of playoffs. But when you say what is the state of this team, I think that they're underdogs and they're just fighting. They're ready to fight against anybody that just crosses their path week in and week out. They do better when they're at home. Away from home, they definitely struggled. I can't say anything about that. They've been poor away from home. But when you're at home, you have to be a bit of a fortress team, and I think that's what Austin FC wants to be. Little by little, they're getting those additions that help solidify whatever line it is, either the back line, the midfield, or that forward line. But I think it's still an incomplete project. I don't know if you watch Dragon Ball Z, but if Austin FC was Cell, they're still the imperfect Cell. They're not at that perfect form yet. So maybe they just ate one of the androids and they're going for the next one.
That's
Yeah.
funny. So now that you mentioned how the team is doing, what would it take for Austin FC to defeat LA Galaxy? You think?
It's gonna take balls, man. And I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but
No, go
it's just
ahead. Yeah.
that's you really gotta look in the mirror either the night before or the moment before you go onto the pitch, and you really gotta dig deep because Josh Wolf today in the midweek press availability, he pretty much noted like, hey, this is a game that's gonna be on national television. It's an opportunity for the guys to make a statement. It's an opportunity for the guys that haven't really been playing to make an impact on the team, right? He's pretty much saying, hey, the opportunity is there, the chance is there, go ahead and take it. Most of the time, the game plan has been the right one for the game that has presented itself versus Austin FC. Execution has just maybe not been there for the players. That's something that coach has touched up on in different press conferences. He says, hey, execution and decision making continue to hurt us on the road and at home. So if Austin FC can take their chances, if they can defend the same way that they did against Houston and kind of I hate to say this because he's from Texas, he's from Waco, but Cerillo, I think Austin FC can identify him as a weak point in that defense. Because I was watching the highlights against San Jose. I would say that he's at fault for two of the goals. He just gets out jumped and then he kind of just loses his mark in one of the other ones. I know that maybe he's playing out of position. I've seen him feature in the midfield for the Galaxy. He went toe to toe versus Messi in that little famous clip. But I've seen that he's slotted in at right back. He slotted in at center back, and the Galaxy has defensive problems. That's where you have to exploit this team. So, like I said, if you can execute against a poor defense, although they've been scoring in the offense, the Galaxy and Austin FC have conceded the same amount of goals. So that says a lot. That says a lot. This team can get scored on. They're not the invincibles, I guess you could say. So if you can take your chances, like I said, defend well and hope that Brad Stewart has an A+ game like he always does. I don't want to say that the chances are there, that the chances is good, but there's an opportunity for their taking. If you execute, I think the Galaxy could fall at Q2 Stadium.
It's interesting. You bring up Cerrillo because, yeah, LA Galaxy had one of the well. There's two issues that are really plaguing the team right now. One is lack of depth up top, and
Mhm.
you're like, why? Dejan Joveljic has been doing so fantastic this season. Well, even before the season started, we had questions up top because nobody really expected him to start the way he has and score so many goals. Uh, Joveljic is not the same player he was a couple of seasons ago, where he was scoring all these fantastic goals on the run of play, and he's had to morph into kind of like a poacher type guy who has to float around the six and see what he can pick up, especially with guys like Paintil, Peck, and Puig
Mhm.
feeding him balls into the box. But if he were to go down or if he has to get subbed out, who do we have backing him up? Miguel Berry, who came over from Atlanta. And this guy, man, I spoke to our good friends at Scarves and Spikes who cover Atlanta,
Mhm.
and they warned us like this guy is really, really, really slow. He has two speeds, slow and slower. And we've seen him run, and he runs like Wario, man. I'm telling you, if you remember how Wario runs, that's how fool runs, all right?
That's
So
hilarious.
so it's like when you bring him in, you're like, yeah, you really, really need to, think about it. And the other place where Galaxy has had issues is at center back. Whereas last year we had a fantastic player in Jalen Neal lining up in the middle. Uh, yeah, along with Maya Yoshida, who's our captain, and Cáceres, the great Uruguayan player. So we had something good right there. But then Jalen Neal got hurt in the summer during the Gold Cup. He suffered a hamstring injury. And then we heard later on that he suffered a sports hernia, which he re-aggravated. And so right now, he's actually getting some minutes with our MLS Next Pro team, which is Ventura County FC. So he's on the mend. He's on his way to getting back. And the question is, how much longer, until he comes back with the main squad, and also if he's going to be as effective as he was when he got hurt. So it's going to be a while, but until then, Galaxy has to rely on whatever paper thin defense they have. Now, uh, one of our center backs, our backup center back, Eric Zavaleta, the Salvadorian king, he picked up a red card against San Jose on a really stupid foul, and so he's going to be missing in this next game. He took a lot of guff
Yep.
for that, and so a lot of people were really upset with him because of that. But you know what? Either way, he's not going to be there, right? So you might see Cerrillo line up at center back again. Now, Galaxy has tried to address the center back issue. They picked up a young defender from Colombia, from Deportivo Pereira, named Emiro Garces. But initially, it started as a loan to buy, and then they just said, "No, forget it. Just buy this guy." So they bought him, but he's not here yet. I thought that maybe they would have announced him by Tuesday because we've known about him for several weeks now, but he's not here yet. So the question is, when is he going to show up? I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, he's in Austin with the team and he's training with them in preparation for the game on Saturday. So he might show up on Saturday or he might not until next Monday. So it's a good question. But until then, Galaxy will probably have to rely on Cerrillo. The reason
Mhm.
he's lined up at what's that, right back, left back, is because our other wing back, Miki Yamane, picked up a knock in practice, and so he had to miss the game. Hopefully Yamanen will be back because him and Mayashita, that they're former teammates in the Japanese national team. They have very good camaraderie, and Yamane, he's one of those players where you plug him in and you don't even have to you don't have to worry about him because he's gonna do
Mm.
his thing. So hopefully he'll be back. But all signs point to, yeah, Cerrillo will be a center back, and he is not a center back. Like you said, he's a mid. So as far as playing a center back, he's hit or miss. We've seen him play good, and then we've seen him get completely dunked on. And so hopefully he has a good performance against Austin.
Interesting.
Um, now, knowing knowing this, right, what I told you, um, what do you think Austin has to do to defeat? I'm sorry, the other way around. What do you think LA Galaxy will have to do to break down Austin and get a very rare dub on the road?
Just referencing again the San Jose game, Booch's goal was in transition. Very good goal. They got down the field in maybe less than 5 or 6 passes, and then it was the finish by Butch who sent the keeper the complete wrong way,
Yeah.
and he was even feeling that goal. He did the oof kind of goal selling, and I was like, chill out. Butcher wasn't even that much of a banger, but I think what he really liked, what he found really delicious, was the fact that the buildup was what any team wants to do on the pitch. I'm sure they've done that on the training ground hundreds of times, but goals in transition sometimes they don't come according to plan when you're on the actual field, and that's something that LA Galaxy can do to hurt Austin FC if they catch them upfield, either in a corner kick play or in a dangerous throw in, because Austin FC does like to incorporate their center backs to throw ins. They throw it long and they hope for a center back to flick it, and it creates a half chance in the box for maybe somebody arriving in the second post, or the ball can maybe bounce around and you'll get a lucky bounce and you have a shot in front of goal out of nowhere. But if you manage to hold the ball, if you manage to, I guess, steal the ball, if you're the Galaxy in those moments and you transition quickly, if you counter quickly, you'll find that Austin FC can be exposed in that way. Their defense is not fast. That's the reason why the Galaxy and Austin has the same amount of goals conceded. They struggle defensively. They have slow center backs. They have aging center backs. And maybe the fullbacks for Austin FC are better. They're more fit. They're more used to that position that they play. I'm talking about John Gallagher. I'm talking about Guilherme Biro or John Kolmanich. So I think just transition goals, counterattacks is where Austin FC can really be impacted versus the LA Galaxy, and just not giving any space, because Galaxy has players that they need just an inch of room and they'll get a finish off, and it could go into the back of the net. You just got to be on them and not let them breathe and show no respect, show no mercy. It doesn't matter if it's Diego; he's just another guy now. Whenever he's versus you, and that has to go out the window. So just be tight on them. Avoid being caught up field, and Austin should be okay. But those are some things LA Galaxy can exploit.
So before we get into predictions, I'm going to toss out a couple of things at you. The first one
Mhm.
is that of the 15 goals Galaxy has allowed, it's 15, right? 12 of them have come on set pieces or penalty kicks, which
Wow.
yeah. From the outside looking, you're like, oh, 15 goals, man, that defense sucks. And then you get down to the nitty gritty, and like we were keeping tabs on it, me and some of the other podcasters I keep in touch with over this weekend, and we were keeping count, and it was like, oh, now that's 10, and now that's 11, now that's 12. So 12 of the 15 goals they've allowed have come on set pieces and penalties, and the question starts to go around like, what the hell do they practice? Of course they practice the stuff, right? But we've been noticing that Greg Vanny likes to use zone defense on set pieces,
Mm.
and so we're like, okay, it's not working, then body up. Put a guy in the far post or something, but body up, just make sure that whoever is on somebody doesn't like let them get away or something, and try to figure something out, because obviously something's not working. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing is that I was looking at the pro referee assignments this weekend, and we talked about this for coming on. The guy who's going to be with the whistle is Victor Rivas. And when I put up these stats, a lot of Galaxy fans were like, "Hey, we like this guy, right?" Well, because Galaxy has won. I'm sorry, he has officiated 88 matches, 11 involving the LA Galaxy. And during those matches, Galaxy has won 45.5% of them, lost 18.2%, with 36.4% draws. Now, here's the funny thing: Galaxy has never won on the road in a match that he has officiated. So there you go. Two things. And one third thing is Galaxy always has a really hard time waking up in the morning for these early matches outside of California. So, with that in mind, um, we can go into predictions. But before that, just some regular stuff out of the way. And in the last six matches between these two teams, Galaxy has won four, drawn once, and Austin has won once. The last time these two teams met was a 3-3 draw, September 25th of last year. And the last time Austin beat the Galaxy was a 2-0 win at Q2 on September 27, 2021. That's the last time the Galaxy beat Austin at Austin.
I was there.
Um, so uh, I'll let you have first crack at it. Tell us, what your prediction is, and let's go from there.
Well, just going off everything that you just said, I agree with a lot that you said. The fact that Galaxy is going to struggle with that time, and it's something that reporter Laura Gallo asked Josh Wolf today in the media availability. And Josh Wolf said, "Hey, that's a really good question. It's definitely going to come into play." The Galaxy player Diego Fagundes was asked yesterday on FCTV, an Austin FC podcast. He was asked about that time also, and he was like, it's not going to be anything going on. But of course, a player is going to say that they don't want to admit that there's an advantage by the other side. But I think that's definitely going to come into play, and that's going to probably influence the number that I'm about to give you. I'm going to go with the same prediction I gave you in the Houston Dynamo game. Well, the same prediction I said from the Houston Dynamo game that I gave my G at Golds TV and on Top Flight. 2-1 for Austin FC over the LA Galaxy. I've heard 3-3s, I've heard 4-3s or whatnot, but I think both of these teams are gonna get on the scoreboard for sure. But I think Austin FC is gonna edge them out 2-1. The win stays here.
Sorry, my son just walked in.
You're good.
So I'm actually gonna be a little bit more positive. You might see the mirror. Hey, sorry, buddy. Sorry.
You're
But
good.
What are we at?
Yeah, buddy.
Fix it.
Yeah, I will. Sorry, everyone. This is my
No,
son.
you're good, bro. You're good.
So
That's
anyway,
cute.
I predict a 1-1 draw. I think I'm trying to be a little more positive here. LA Galaxy will definitely have a hard time with the early morning start and
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the road match and Victor Rivas, right? Like I said,
Oh,
Galaxy is
what are you now?
sorry, buddy. So Galaxy has never won a game on the road with him officiating. So yeah, a 1-1 draw, and I think that'll be a huge thing for the Galaxy to get that 1-1 draw on the road against
Papa,
Austin.
what's your
The thing about that, bro, just real quick, I like that take that you said 1-1, and maybe your son is agreeing with me. I'm just playing, but what I want to say is Austin is playing with house money in this game against the Galaxy because if you lose the game, oh, Galaxy's top of the league, Galaxy's top of the West, they're playing great football, yada yada yada. But if you manage to get a point or even beat the Galaxy, you're in great form. Josh Wolf, credit to this guy, credit to the players or whatnot. So Austin FC is kind of playing with house money. If they get the draw, great. If they get the win, fantastic. And if they lose to the Galaxy, they have the excuse they can wash their hands and say, hey, it's the Galaxy. They're the best team in the league right now. They are league leaders, blah, blah, blah. So I think this is pretty much a win-win situation for us. I don't know if it's a win-win. I'm sorry. But like I said, it's house money, I guess you could say. Kind of like if you were in a casino. The gamblers know what I mean when I say house money.
Yeah, it's oh, sorry.
You're good, bro. You're good, man. No
Papa,
worries.
some more inside out.
Well, what do you say? You think Galaxy's gonna win?
Yeah.
There you go.
Of course. If Austin loses to the Galaxy, they can wash their hands and say, hey, they're top of the league, they're top of the West. this is what happens in these kind of games. If they get a draw from the Galaxy or if they beat the Galaxy, the narrative will be Austin FC is on an amazing run. They've won, 4 out of the last 5 games. They're a playoff team now. They're not going to be wooden spoon contenders for the year. The narrative will definitely switch. And like I said, if you lose to the Galaxy, probably the main headline will be, oh, well, it's the Galaxy. They're top of the league right now. What do you think what was going to happen? So it's kind of like Austin FC's playing with house money.
Yeah, I completely understand because uh, we have a friend named Saz who covers San Jose Earthquakes, and we didn't get a chance to do a midweek show with him. But uh, based on the result that San Jose got, I felt like both teams came out looking good because, like we saw with Houston and Austin, these rivalry matches, they're very unpredictable. You never know who could win. Somebody could be in first and last place will win. And you only see that in MLS. You very rarely see that like in Premier League or in the Bundesliga or places like that. And that's one of the wonderful things about our league. Um, so having said that, I felt like San Jose came out looking good because they put up a good fight against LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy won the Cali Clasico against their old rival. And so both teams, Galaxy was happy to come out with the win. Galaxy fans were relieved to get the win. And San Jose was like, you know what? At least we can leave our heads held high. So I completely understand that. I will say though, from the Galaxy side of things, the team has built an identity this season, which I think is really important for a club to have an identity if they're going to be a playoff or championship contender. You see the teams that are most successful in this league, they have a very strong identity that you can instantly recognize. And that's one thing that this team has lacked for a very long time.
I agree.
Even during the Zlatan years, it was like Zlatan and a bunch of guys, right? And so now the team is actually building an identity around these young players, the triple Ps, as people call them. And so it'll be interesting to see how they face up against Austin. I told people before before the LAFC match, I was like, I don't feel like the team is back, and I feel like they have two big tests against LAFC and against Vancouver. They obviously lost to LAFC. There was some shoddy officiating, right? It was kind of controversial. But then the second big test was going up to Vancouver, who is a good team. A lot of people say, nah, they're all smoke and mirrors. No, Vancouver is a good team. You got to give them their plaudits. And for Galaxy to go up there and get a victory in their place, that was a big deal. And so I said, you know what? I really do feel that this team, they're not back, but they're definitely getting there. And now here comes Austin on the heels of San Jose win, and I'm thinking, okay, now this is another big test, and if Galaxy can get a positive result against Austin, meaning not losing, because to me, getting a draw on the road against Austin at that time of the day with that ref, knowing the record the Galaxy has when he was officiating away from home, that's a big plus. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a good match. I hope it's not all sloppy. The guys are all tired, right? They haven't had their cafecito yet. So 1-1 draw, and you say 2-1 Austin victory.
2-1 Austin.
Okay. Well, hopefully, like I said, we get a good match. But we're gonna wrap it up right now. But hey, you know what? Thank you so much, dude, and thank you so much for hanging in. Even my kid coming in.
Dude, no worries.
That's the beauty of what we do, right? We're here at home, doing our thing and doing what you don't see in studios, right?
We're fathers, man.
Yeah, we're dads, right?
We're fathers.
It's an amazing thing, man.
I agree.
But like I said, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell people that want to know more about Austin FC where they can find you and your podcast?
Yeah, I mean, well, for sure. Before I say anything, I just want to say thank you for having me. Like I said earlier, it's something that I've been wanting to do. We just didn't meet up, didn't line up, but I'm glad that we got a preview in for this big match coming up. The Galaxy is first place. Austin is going to be that underdog punching up. So it's going to be a great match, and I'm excited also. Maybe in the space that we host, maybe we can get you in and drop a Galaxy take, or in the future, whenever we play once more, we'll have you on our show, and we'll get you to come on, and our people can hear what you got to say. But other than that, brother, y'all can catch us at Top Flight Podcast. We're Austin TV. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube for podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But yeah, that's where you can check us out.
Once again, everyone, this has been Edgar from News Across the Galaxy. I'm coming at you from NAG Studio East, which is a secret location somewhere in East LA County. But thanks to everyone for listening in. Once again, we'll catch you on Sunday to give you a match recap. Until then, keep on nagging and Wu-Tang for life.